Do you need to quickly create a forecast for your dataset? Well, if you do, then you're in luck. Today I'm going to use the power of Power BI to quickly create a forecast for real data in just minutes. The beauty of working with Power BI is we can leverage the tool to create fantastic visualizations, which can then be used for presentations and the like. For those of you who are interested in the nitty gritty and understanding what's actually happening under the hood with these forecasts, I'm going to touch on the methodology that Power BI uses to produce a forecast, and I'm just also going to talk about the limitations of the forecast it generates. So, without further ado, let's get started. The data set that I've got today to use as an example is this time series data with the on-time running of trams at a particular city as a function of time. I have 35 monthly periods. Since this data has seasonality, it's important to at least have 2 years worth of data. To create the forecast in Power BI, I'm going to go to the visualizations pane and add a line chart. Once I've done that, I'm going to go to my data set. I'm going to drop in the monthly periods on my x-axis and then the on-time running in the y. So this is how my data looks when it's visualized. You can see it's quite messy. It's really hard to spot seasonality, although you can see in January it's generally at a higher level than it is at other times in the year, so that does suggest there is seasonality and that it is annual. It is quite noisy. It doesn't look like a data set out of a textbook, but that's because we're working with real data. If we go to the third pane for that visual, which is the add further analysis to your visual pane, we can see there's a forecast window and we can turn that on. Once we turn that on, we can see that Power BI produces a forecast, although it's rather terrible. We need to feed it in more information to create something that's reasonable. I need a 12-month forecast, so I want to generate a forecast 12 months out from the last data point. I need to tell it that it's got 12 months of seasonality, and I'll leave the confidence intervals on. Once I hit apply, it will quickly generate the forecast as well as the confidence intervals, which, as you can see, they gradually get more and more expansive, which makes sense because as time goes on, the forecast will be less and less certain. And that's it. We've got a forecast in Power BI. It's all ready for use in presentations, reports, and things like that. So very convenient. So for those of you who want to understand how Power BI has generated this forecast, I'm going to talk about that now. So essentially what happens under the hood is Power BI is using something called an Aerotrend seasonality model, or ETS model, which is a simple time series forecasting methodology to create these forecasts. The ETS model is essentially decomposing the time series into several components. The first is a level component. The second is the trend. The third is the seasonality. And then the fourth is the unexplained randomness, which is the error term. ETS models will use exponential smoothing when they generate forecasts. So essentially, they weight more recent periods as having a more of an impact or being more correlated with the future than past ones. That's a fundamental principle to sort of understand with regards to that. So what are the limitations of these ETS models? Well, if we have a simple time series or time series data set where it's just a time dimension and our outcome, these types of ETS models are going to give a really good prediction. And they're going to be very hard to beat, actually, in terms of how predictive they are. For more complicated data sets where we have the time dimension and we have our outcome, but we also have other variables which are highly correlated with the outcome, the ETS model is not going to do such a good job on these problems. it's probably going to provide a suitable benchmark, but it wouldn't be the most accurate model. The simple reason for that is an ETS model will only look at the time dimension and how the past data correlated with that time dimension when it makes its forecast. If we have other variables that are quite correlated with the outcome, the ETS model won't take these into account. These get ignored. So some other methodology that is able to sort of regress the outcome with these variables would be more accurate than using just a simple ETS model. But for the vast majority of scenarios, the ETS model in Power BI will provide a very suitable baseline, if not suitable forecast for your needs. Okay, that's it. I hope you got something out of this video and you better understand how to generate a forecast using Power BI with real data and what the limitations are of it. Thank you.